Now, we've done plenty of videos on this channel about the clone commanders of the Grand Army of the Republic, often speculating about Order 66 and how various clones would have reacted to the order. But what about afterwards? We know several clones deserted the Stormtrooper Corps after the end of the Clone Wars, and it bears consideration as to what choice some of our favourite Clone Wars background characters would have made. In this video, we'll be discussing the choices of every single known clone commander who survived the Clone Wars.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Now, we're already familiar with the fates of a good many clone commanders, so instead of repeating variations of the same story a few dozen times, we're going to break our list up into categories. In particular, we're dealing with 3 categories: clones who deserted, clones who remained loyal to the Empire, and a select few who fell somewhere in between. We'll address the fate of more well-known characters to set the stage first, and then we'll dive into individual stories and a few theories of ours. First up, let's talk about desertion. We know a fair few clones deserted the Grand Army of the Republic once it became the Stormtrooper Corps, but we also know they were a very, very small minority. For one thing, after the end of the reconquest of the Rim, the Empire's war against the Separatist holdouts, clones were allowed to retire, which made desertion unnecessary in the first place, unless clones really, truly hated the Empire, which was very rare. Most would have no cause to desert. We do know of a few deserters, however. The most prominent of these were Rex, Wolf, and Gregor, who, as we all know, abandoned the Empire shortly after its inception and went off into the middle of nowhere with a surplus ATTE. Now, as mentioned earlier, the vast majority of clones would have stayed with the Empire, but that could mean several different things. Most clones likely would have stuck with the Empire until they were able to retire. Others, like Commander Fox, would have stuck with the Empire and died sometime after the declaration of a new order, either in combat or at the hands of a certain easily angered Sith Lord. Still others would have stuck with the Empire long after they became eligible to retire, and these clones would have been put to use training future generations of stormtroopers. This last group includes Commander Cody, who lived out the rest of his days dealing with cadets on Kamino. But there were also some who fell somewhat in between. Take Commander Gray for example. When Order 66 was issued, he shot his Jedi General, no questions asked, and he went on to faithfully serve the Empire. A few months into the job, however, he captured Caleb Doom, a Jedi Padawan he had failed to kill during the initial execution of the Order. Instead of killing Doom, as he easily could have and was expected to, he gave his life, and in doing so, allowed him to escape. This isn't really desertion, but it's not loyalty to the Empire either, and so we felt it deserved a miscellaneous category. The first commander we're going to discuss today is Commander Levet, known as Commander Tactful or CC3388/0021. Levet supported the Republic, but he was not much of a fan of the Jedi and was notable for actively discouraging belief in the myth of Jedi invincibility, something that many clones bought into over the course of the Clone Wars. It's not known whether or not he executed Order 66, but it is known that he deserted the Stormtrooper Corps, though we don't know why. Levet became a Mandalorian, joining Clan Scarada and a number of other clone deserters at Krimarut, where he settled down as a farmer. Next up, we're going to be talking about 3 clone commanders whose continued loyalty to the Empire was strong enough for them to be assigned to the Imperial 501st, Commander Appa, Commander Vil, and Commander Voka. These 3 could be considered Rex's successors, though really, only our boy Commander Appa was worthy of that title. All 3 of these clones had the rare distinction of being personally liked by Darth Vader, and all 3 of them died in service to him. Commander Appa was Rex's replacement as commander of the 501st Legion. It was he who led Operation Nightfall, the attack on the Jedi Temple, alongside Anakin Skywalker. He served with distinction in this operation, so much so that Vader chose him to be his personal second-in-command for matters relating to the Great Jedi Purge, which of course did not end on Coruscant. Alongside Commander Bo, Appa was responsible for saving Vader's life during a confrontation with Jedi on Kessel, and he also accompanied Vader in Jedi hunting operations on New Plimpto, Mokana, and Kashyyyk. It was on Kashyyyk where Appa met his end, as Jedi fugitive Rowan Shrine decapitated him in the battle there. Commander Vil served alongside Appa during the early stages of the Purge and was responsible for the conquest of New Plimpto, during which he ordered the execution of rebels who had surrendered to the 501st. He likely replaced Appa after Kashyyyk, following which he was also responsible for putting down an insurrection on Bandamir. After this battle, he was killed by Vader for refusing to answer whether the clones were programmed with a contingency order to turn on him. Vil was likely replaced by Commander Voka, who died in combat not long after on a planet on the Atoa system, faithfully serving Darth Vader till his bitter end. Several of the clone commanders who stuck with the Empire did so partly because they had personal scores to settle with the Jedi who had escaped Order 66. The most well-known of these was Commander Bly. Bly, as we all know, successfully killed Aayla Secura on Felucia after being given the order, but Secura wasn't the only Jedi on Felucia at the time, and two Padawans, Drake Logan and Ikria, had escaped Imperial justice. A few months after Order 66, Bly tracked the two fugitives to Tapasi, where he believed he finally killed them. Unbeknownst to him and the Empire, both survived, though Bly likely never learned of this. He probably went on to train Stormtrooper cadets afterwards, like Commander Cody. Another commander with a grudge was Commander Faye. Faye was extremely by the book, which regularly brought him into conflict with Quinlan Vos, the Jedi who was assigned to be his general during the last days of the conflict. When Order 66 was issued, Faye shot Luminara Undili and gleefully ordered one of Vos's tanks to blow him to hell. But Quinlan Vos survived that attack, and when the Empire discovered this, Faye was tasked with scouring Kashyyyk for the rogue Jedi. It didn't take Faye long to approximate Vos's location, and he showed up to confront his former general personally, threatening to firebomb the whole area and a nearby Wookiee village if Vos didn't give himself up. Vos, reasonably, chose to murder Faye instead, and his allies burned Faye's body to cover for Vos's escape. Another of these vengeful clones was Commander Killer, who was with several Jedi generals on Tula when Order 66 was issued. Keller succeeded in killing Jedi Master Sims, but Master Kai Hudora and Sims' Padawan, Noira Na, managed to escape. Keller was absolutely hell-bent on finding them and went as far as putting a whole city under martial law to do so, but both Jedi did manage to escape Tula. They parted ways and their fates are unknown, but knowing Commander Keller, he likely pursued both of them and continued serving the Empire for years afterwards. Several other clone commanders are known to have continued serving the Empire, either out of loyalty or due to some other personal convictions. Commander Thaya, who had once accompanied Yoda to Rugosa as a lieutenant, became the commander of Emperor Palpatine's personal clone guard, and between him and the infamous intelligence director Armand Issad, he played a major role in bringing the Imperial jackboot down hard on Coruscant. Commander Get, the only known clone commander to have survived the Battle of Kashyyyk and its immediate aftermath, was radicalized by his experiences in that battle and went on to be a decorated stormtrooper commander. Others, like Commanders Salvo and Neo, are known to have complied with Order 66 and likely would have kept on with their jobs afterward. This leaves us with a few commanders whose fates are truly unknown. Of them, we can only reasonably speculate that Commander Doom and Commander Devis deserted. As we've mentioned in many a prior video, Commander Doom was more familiar with the nature of Order 66 than other clones, and he was smart enough to put the pieces together after the order was executed, perhaps coming to the conclusion that the clones were bred to be pawns, a revelation that could easily have led to desertion. Commander Devis, on the other hand, was repeatedly shown to be an exceedingly compassionate clone, and though he did execute Order 66, he easily could have become disillusioned with the Empire afterwards and deserted. In addition, some clones almost certainly stuck with the Empire. Commander Jet, an officer in the Galactic Marines, was probably one of them, based on the nature of that unit and how the rest of them turned out. Commander Blitz, an ARC commander who participated in the defense of Kamino, is also a very likely candidate, as he was primarily involved with the training of new cadets and probably wouldn't have seen much of a change in those duties under the Empire. Clone Commanders Stone and Blackout are also likely candidates for sticking with the Empire, as neither was attached to a Jedi general, and thus, neither would have had much of a chance to broaden their horizons and reconsider their place in the galaxy. This leaves us with a few stragglers. Commander Monk, who served with Kit Fisto on Mon Cala, Commander Gench, the veteran commander of the 612th Attack Battalion, and Oddball, a clone pilot who often served with General Kenobi. We don't really know much about any of these clones, and we definitely aren't confident in the possibility that they deserted. However, we're also not confident enough to say that they definitely served the Empire. If they did serve the Empire, all three would likely have been part of the reconquest of the Rim due to their uniquely valuable experience, and all three likely would have been made to train cadets for that exact same reason. So that's our take on the fates of every clone commander following Order 66. But as per usual, what do you guys think? Do you have any theories of your own on this matter? Which is your favorite clone commander? Let us know in the comments section below. And just before you go guys, as per usual, make sure you check out our wider Star Wars community on our main Discord where you can chat with myself and other Star Wars fans, our Geetsly's Gaming Network, which has just released a Jedi vs Sith game mode, and the Patreon if you want to help support the channel. Anyways guys, as always, thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next video.